Excuse me, sir. I'd like to check my account balance, please. A black kid in worn-out shoes stood at the counter. 10 years old, cracked soles, frayed laces, thrift store jacket swallowing his small frame. The bank manager stopped, looked the boy up and down slowly, then burst out laughing. "Check your account?" His voice echoed across the marble lobby. "This is First National Heritage Bank, not a welfare office for street kids." Bradley Whitmore stepped closer. His expensive cologne clashed with his ugly sneer. "Look at those shoes! Look at that skin!" He shook his head in theatrical disgust. "Another black kid looking for a handout. You people are all the same. Get out before I call security. We serve real customers here." The security guard moved closer, hand on his baton. A wealthy customer shouted from behind, "Throw him out already! He's stinking up the place!" Laughter rippled through the lobby, cruel, loud, united against one small boy. No one defended him, not a single person, but not one of them could have imagined what would happen next. Within the hour, Bradley Whitmore himself would be begging, not for money, but for mercy. Wesley Brooks didn't run. He didn't scream. He stood his ground, just like Grandma Eleanor taught him. "Sir, I have an account here." His voice trembled but didn't break. "My grandmother opened it for me. She passed away 2 months ago. She left me this." He held up a brown envelope. Inside were the documents, the bank card, the letter Grandma wrote him before she died. Bradley Whitmore rolled his eyes dramatically. "Your grandmother?" He looked around at the watching customers, playing to his audience. "Let me guess. She also left you a mansion in the Hamptons and a private jet?" Laughter again. The wealthy customers loved the show. Chelsea Morrison, the senior teller, leaned over her counter. Her lip curled with disgust. "Sir, should I call the police?" "This kid is obviously running some kind of scam." Bradley waved his hand. "Not yet. Let's see what kind of con he's pulling first." He snatched the envelope from Wesley's hands, pulled out the documents roughly. His eyes scanned them with bored contempt. Then he saw the bank card. Black. Premium tier. Platinum reserve. The kind issued only to high-net-worth clients. For 1 second, something flickered across Bradley's face. Confusion. Maybe even doubt. But prejudice is a powerful thing. It can blind you to what's right in front of your eyes. Bradley shook off his doubt. "Where did you steal this?" He held up the card, showing it to the lobby like evidence in a courtroom. "A black kid from the projects with a platinum reserve card? You really expect me to believe that?" Wesley's hands trembled. "I didn't steal anything. It's mine. My grandma—" "Your grandma, nothing." Bradley threw the card on the counter. It skidded across the marble surface. "I've been in banking for 15 years, kid. I know a fraud when I see one." He pointed to the far corner of the lobby, near the janitor's closet, near the bathroom entrance, the worst seats in the building. "Sit over there. Don't move. Don't talk to anyone. I'm calling headquarters to verify this so-called account." Wesley walked to the corner, head down, shoulders hunched, each step heavier than the last. He sat on the cold metal chair, alone, surrounded by marble and brass and wealth that seemed to mock his worn-out shoes. He pulled out Grandma Eleanor's letter. Her handwriting was shaky, but full of love. "My brave Wesley, never let anyone make you feel small. You are worth more than they will ever know." He read those words 3 times, trying to believe them. His phone buzzed. A text from Uncle Lawrence. "Stuck in a meeting. Be there in 20 minutes. You're doing great, champ." Wesley almost smiled. He had no idea how much those 20 minutes would change everything. Tier 1, the waiting game. 15 minutes passed, then 20, then 25. Wesley sat in the corner, invisible, forgotten, erased. The bank hummed with activity around him. Customers came and went. Tellers smiled and processed transactions. Business continued as usual. But not for Wesley. He watched Bradley Whitmore help a white man in a golf polo open a brand new account. The man had arrived 15 minutes after Wesley. He was served immediately. No questions, no suspicion, no demands for extra identification, just smiles and handshakes and, "Welcome to First National Heritage." Wesley watched Chelsea Morrison bring Bradley a cup of coffee from the break room. They stood together near the water cooler, laughing. Their eyes kept drifting toward Wesley's corner. More laughter. He couldn't hear what they were saying. He didn't need to. He watched a wealthy woman in a designer dress deposit a check for what looked like thousands of dollars. The whole process took 3 minutes. She left without even glancing at the black kid sitting alone near the janitor's closet. An older woman named Diane Campbell finished her transaction at the main counter. She was different from the others. She glanced at Wesley. Her face tightened with something that looked like discomfort, maybe guilt. For one moment, Wesley thought she might come over, might ask if he was okay, might be the one person in this entire building who showed some basic human kindness. But she didn't. She just clutched her designer purse a little tighter and walked toward the exit. Her heels clicked against the marble, each click a small betrayal. Wesley pulled out Grandma Eleanor's letter again. The paper was already soft from being handled so many times. The edges were starting to fray, just like his nerves. "You are braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, and loved more than you know." Grandma used to read him that quote every night before bed. She said a famous author wrote it. "Winnie the Pooh," she told him with a wink. "Even bears know wisdom." He didn't remember the author. He just remembered her voice. Warm like honey, safe like a fortress, gone like smoke. His phone buzzed again. Uncle Lawrence. "Meeting running long, 15 more minutes. Stay strong, champ." Wesley typed back with shaking fingers. Okay. He didn't mention the laughter, the insults, the way Bradley looked at him like he was trash that needed to be disposed of. He didn't want to worry Uncle Lawrence. 30 minutes now. Still waiting, still invisible. A security guard named Jerome Davis stood near the entrance. He was black, like Wesley, mid-50s, tired eyes that had seen too much, gray creeping into his close-cropped hair. Jerome had witnessed everything, the insults, the laughter, the way Bradley humiliated the boy in front of everyone. He wanted to speak up. God, he really did. But he had a mortgage, 2 kids in college, 11 years at this bank building toward a pension. Silence meant employment. Employment meant survival. Survival meant his family didn't end up on the street. Jerome looked away, hated himself for it, looked away anyway. Tier 2. The interrogation. Finally, after 32 minutes, Bradley called Wesley over. Not to the main counter where normal customers were served, to a small desk in the back corner, away from the pleasant banking areas, away from the comfortable chairs and complimentary coffee, visible to everyone, but isolated, like an animal in a zoo exhibit. Wesley sat down in the hard plastic chair, placed his grandmother's documents on the desk carefully. Bradley didn't touch them, didn't even look at them. "Let's try this again." His voice was cold, clinical. The voice of a man performing for the security cameras. "You claim you have an account at this bank. You claim your grandmother left you money. But you have no proper ID, no guardian present, no proof of address. And frankly, kid, you don't look like someone who belongs in an institution like this." Wesley's throat tightened. "I have my school ID, and my grandma's letter, and the bank card with my name on it." Bradley picked up the school ID with 2 fingers, like it might be contaminated. "Lincoln Elementary School, 5th grade." He tossed it back on the desk. It slid toward Wesley, almost falling off the edge. "This proves absolutely nothing. Any kid can get a school ID. Doesn't mean you have money in our bank." "But the card! Where are your parents?" The question hit Wesley like a physical blow. His father had left before he was born. His mother had died when he was 3. Car accident. He didn't even remember her face except from photographs. I live with my uncle. His voice came out small, wounded. And where is this mysterious uncle? He's coming. He's in a meeting, an important meeting. Bradley leaned back in his expensive leather chair, crossed his arms over his expensive silk tie. A meeting, of course. How convenient. His smirk was ugly. Let me guess. He's the CEO of some Fortune 500 company? That's why a 10-year-old black kid in raggedy shoes has a platinum reserve card? Because his uncle is so rich and important? Before Wesley could respond, Chelsea appeared beside Bradley. She bent down and whispered something in his ear. They both looked at Wesley. Chelsea's smirk matched Bradley's perfectly. I don't know what kind of scam you and your so-called uncle are running, Bradley said, louder now, wanting the other customers to hear. But it won't work here. I'm freezing this account pending a full investigation. Wesley's eyes went wide. You can't do that. That's my grandma's money. She saved her whole life. Your grandma. Bradley's voice dripped with sarcasm, each word a small knife. Right. The teacher who supposedly left you a fortune. Tell me something, kid. What did she really do? Rob a bank herself? Deal drugs? What? The words hung in the air like poison. Wesley felt something crack inside his chest, in the place where he kept Grandma Eleanor's memory safe. Tier 3. Public abuse of power. Bradley stood up from his desk, straightened his tie, smoothed his jacket, then he raised his voice, made absolutely sure the entire lobby could hear every word. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for this disruption. His voice carried like a practiced actor's. This is what we deal with every single day. People who don't belong in places like this, trying to take what isn't theirs. 6 customers watched the spectacle. Some nodded in agreement, their prejudices confirmed. Others looked uncomfortable but stayed silent. None of them spoke up. Diane Campbell had returned. She'd made it to her car in the parking lot, but she couldn't turn the key. Couldn't drive away. Something. Guilt, conscience, basic humanity had pulled her back inside. Now she stood near the entrance, watching everything unfold. Her hands were shaking. I don't know where you stole that card, Bradley continued, pointing at Wesley like a prosecutor at a trial. I don't know what kind of lies you've been told, but you are not getting a single penny from this bank. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever. Wesley's vision blurred with tears. He tried to stop them. Boys don't cry, some voice in his head said. Grandma's voice answered, Boys feel, Wesley. Feeling is strength. My grandma worked 40 years, he managed to say. His voice cracked, but he kept going. She was a teacher at Lincoln Elementary. She saved everything for me. She promised. Spare me the sob story. Bradley's voice was a slap. I've heard them all before. Every con artist has a dead grandmother and a tragic tale. He turned to Jerome, still standing by the entrance. Security, escort this kid out of my bank, now! Jerome didn't move. His feet felt nailed to the marble floor. Did you hear me? Bradley's voice sharpened. I said now! Jerome walked toward Wesley. Slowly. Each step a small death of his self-respect. 11 years of silence. 11 years of watching Bradley humiliate people who didn't fit his image of a real customer. Immigrants struggling with English. Women in second-hand clothes. Elderly people confused by technology. Anyone who looked poor, sounded different, seemed vulnerable. Jerome had never spoken up. Not once. Not ever. Today was no different. Today, he was still a coward. He stopped in front of Wesley, extended his hand, couldn't meet the boy's eyes. Wesley stood up on his own. He didn't need help. He picked up his grandmother's letter from the desk, pressed it against his heart like a shield, walked toward the door with as much dignity as a 10-year-old could carry. Bradley's voice followed him like a curse. Next time you want to beg for money, try a homeless shelter or a street corner. That's more your natural environment. Someone in the lobby actually laughed. A real laugh, loud and cruel. Wesley reached the exit. His phone started ringing. The screen lit up. Uncle Lawrence, calling. He tried to answer. His hands were shaking too badly. The phone slipped from his fingers, crashed onto the marble floor. The screen cracked. Jerome picked it up. For one moment, their eyes met. In that moment, Wesley saw something he didn't expect. Shame. Bone-deep, soul-crushing shame. Jerome was drowning in it. But shame wasn't enough. Words were needed. Action was needed. Jerome handed back the phone. Said nothing. Let the boy walk out alone. Wesley pushed through the automatic doors. They closed behind him with a soft whoosh. Inside the bank, Bradley straightened his tie again. Smiled at Chelsea. And that's how you handle it, he said, satisfaction oozing from every word. Give these people an inch, they'll take everything. Chelsea nodded, but her smile had faded. Something uncomfortable stirred in her stomach. Bradley's phone buzzed. An email notification. Subject line, urgent. Q4 investor visit. Immediate preparation required. He glanced at it, deleted it without reading. Too busy. Too important. Too confident in his own power. He should have read that email. He really, really should have. Outside, the November wind bit through Wesley's thin jacket. He sat on a stone bench in the parking lot. Drew his knees up to his chest. Made himself as small as possible. The brown envelope with Grandma Eleanor's documents sat beside him, the cracked phone in his lap. The letter clutched in his fist, getting more wrinkled by the minute. He looked down at his shoes, the ones Bradley had mocked, the ones everyone had laughed at. Grandma Eleanor had bought them at a thrift store last spring. $2. Wesley had been embarrassed at first. Other kids at school had Nikes and Jordans. Shoes don't make the man, baby, Grandma had said, kneeling down to tie the laces for him. Character does. And you have more character in your little finger than most people have in their whole bodies. She had worn her own shoes until they fell apart, fixed them with tape and glue until they couldn't be fixed anymore. Wesley now understood why. Every dollar she didn't spend on herself was a dollar she saved for him. Tears fell onto the cracked phone screen. He didn't bother wiping them away. He tried calling Uncle Lawrence, straight to voicemail. He sent a text, typing through tears. Uncle Lawrence, they kicked me out. They said I stole Grandma's card. They called me a thief. Then he waited. 1 minute, 3 minutes, 5 minutes. No response. The meeting must still be going. Uncle Lawrence always put his phone on silent during important meetings. He said it was professional courtesy. Wesley had no one to call, no one to help, no one coming to save him. A woman walked by. Business suit, designer bag, perfect makeup. She saw the crying black boy on the bench, the one who'd just been thrown out of the bank. She'd seen the whole thing through the window. She kept walking. A man jogged past with his golden retriever. The dog wanted to stop and sniff Wesley. The man yanked the leash, hurried on. Cars pulled in and out of the parking lot. People entered the bank. People left the bank. Nobody stopped. Nobody asked if he was okay. Wesley was invisible. Just like inside. Just like always. He unfolded Grandma Eleanor's letter one more time. The paper was damp now, spotted with tears. My brave Wesley, the world will sometimes be cruel. People will judge you by your shoes, your clothes, the color of your skin.